Hey, crypto family, welcome back to another exciting episode. It's great to have you here today. No matter where you're watching from around the world, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. Today, we're diving deep into some incredible developments in the world of XRP. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. So here's something that's got the crypto community absolutely buzzing right now. A respected analyst from Crypto Basic just dropped this bombshell comparison that's got everyone talking. They're saying that all these people complaining about XRP taking too long need to take a serious look at Amazon's journey. And get this, Amazon went from just 9 cents all the way up to $229. Now, crypto enthusiasts have been drawing these fascinating parallels between XRP's chart pattern and some of the biggest success stories we've ever seen. Whether you're looking at Amazon's explosive growth or Tesla's incredible run-up, one thing becomes crystal clear. XRP's chart is looking absolutely bullish from every angle you examine it. And here's what really gets me excited. Even the most conservative analysts in this current cycle are still calling for 3-digit XRP prices. But honestly, I think we're thinking way too small here. XRP isn't just going to be bigger than Amazon, we're talking about a project that could surpass Amazon and Apple combined, with room to throw in several other major corporations. The reason I'm so confident about this is simple. As Ripple continues to build and expand their ecosystem, it only makes XRP stronger. This isn't just speculation. This is the foundation being laid for something truly revolutionary. Now, speaking of Amazon, there's this persistent rumor that keeps circulating in our community, and honestly, it's worth discussing. Remember when analyst Kendra Hill claimed that Amazon had actually secured XRP? Well, that story is making rounds again, and the timing couldn't be more interesting. Here's what the speculation suggests. Back in 2015, Amazon allegedly secured a massive 5 billion XRP. We're talking about a significant chunk of the total supply here. According to this theory, those tokens have been sitting locked up, just waiting for some kind of formal partnership announcement. Now, let's be completely transparent here. Neither Ripple nor Amazon has confirmed any of this. It's purely speculative at this point. But here's what's fascinating. The fact that this rumor keeps coming back shows just how hungry the market is for news about major institutional involvement. And you know what? When Kendra Hill first mentioned this years ago, it seemed pretty far-fetched. But fast forward to today, and it actually makes a lot more sense. Think about what we're seeing right now. Institutions are flooding into the crypto space like never before. Amazon getting an early position in XRP, that would be a brilliant strategic move. Consider this. XRP could potentially solve so many of Amazon's payment system challenges and beyond. So while we can't confirm if this actually happened, the logic behind it is becoming more compelling every single day. Alright, now let's talk about something that's happening right now, and it's absolutely incredible. XRP is actually beating Bitcoin in net ETF flows. And the reason behind this is pretty eye-opening. Bitcoin's ETFs are experiencing some serious outflows. On December 4th alone, Bitcoin ETFs saw a massive net outflow of nearly $195 million. Even BlackRock's IBIT, which has been one of the strongest performers, had a single-day outflow of $111 million. Now, to put this in perspective, IBIT still has an incredible $62.5 billion in total historic net inflow. So we're not talking about a complete exodus here. But here's where it gets really interesting for us XRP holders. These outflows are happening day after day, and all that money has to go somewhere, right? Now, I'm not saying this transformation is going to happen overnight. That's not how these big financial shifts work. But imagine what happens when we start seeing significant money flowing out of Bitcoin ETFs and into XRP ETFs. We could be looking at a complete game changer for XRP's price action. And if we reach that sweet spot where scarcity kicks in and large institutional money starts flowing from Bitcoin into XRP, friends, we might be looking at 4-digit XRP prices sooner than we think. Now, I want to touch on something that's been making headlines, this whole idea of a national Bitcoin stockpile. I came across this reaction from Rob Paul that really made me think differently about this proposal. Let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Trump proposed a national Bitcoin stockpile, sort of like a reserve fund for Bitcoin. What is your take on this, and how would it impact the crypto market? This is Lucille from Kentucky.
So I actually think it's a bit of a red herring because the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. The US doesn't need to hold other assets in reserve. Yes, it's got gold, but that was a legacy from leaving the gold standard. Other countries have to have reserves to support their own currencies, so they don't need it. Now, would they do it? I think it sounds flashy. For what reason, I don't really know. But let's assume that they do. Let's say I'm wrong and they do build something. It's kind of a weird world because, yes, obviously it's good for the crypto market because there's yet another buyer. But it's also weird because Bitcoin was set up to try and replace the government's control over money. And now you're inserting the government as one of the largest buyers of private money. I don't really like that, actually. But it's probably net positive for the crypto price. Now, maybe it pushes private use of money away from Bitcoin if that were the case. Because if the government can manipulate it, they could dump it onto the market, they can buy more, and before you know it, they're using it like they are interest rates and controlling regular money, and we don't want that.
The analyst makes a really compelling point. If the government creates a massive Bitcoin stockpile, they essentially gain the power to control Bitcoin's price. They could let it pump 5 to 10%, then bring it right back down whenever they want. And honestly, I'm not convinced this is actually bullish for crypto in the long run. Sure, we've got a pro-crypto administration right now, and everything seems great. But what happens when the political winds shift? What if a future administration decides they're not so friendly to cryptocurrency? Picture this scenario. You've got people investing at these current price levels, feeling confident about the market, and then boom, a new administration decides to dump that entire government stockpile back onto the market. We could see a crash that makes previous bear markets look like minor corrections. It's something we really need to think carefully about as this space continues to evolve. Here's my take on this whole Bitcoin stockpile situation, and I think this is crucial for everyone to understand. If cryptocurrency can't be used to actually solve the real problems we're facing with the US dollar, then what's the point of holding crypto in the first place? That's exactly how I see it. A Bitcoin stockpile makes absolutely zero sense to me. There are way too many fundamental problems with this approach, and honestly, I don't see it being relevant anytime soon. We need solutions, not just digital hoarding. Now, let's talk about something that should have everyone's attention. Wall Street just committed a massive $500 million to Ripple, and this happened after their internal assessments determined that 90% of Ripple's net asset value is directly tied to XRP. Think about that for a second. The fact that they included those required safety clauses shows us they're serious about institutional risk mitigation, but they're still confirming this significant capital allocation while hedging against volatility in the digital asset sector. So picture this. Wall Street just unloaded $500 million into Ripple, and they clearly don't see XRP as a problem at all. But here's what's really got me scratching my head. There's one massive thing they didn't talk about in this evaluation, and it's huge: the escrow. Why wasn't the escrow included in this assessment? The way I see it, and this might sound wild, but maybe that escrow already belongs to someone else. Maybe Ripple showed these institutions that the escrow is already spoken for. Who really knows at this point? And get this, Ripple's $500 million share sale last month brought in some of the biggest names in global finance. We're talking about Citadel Securities, Fortress Investment Group, Marshall Wace, Bruin Howard, Galaxy Digital, and Pantera Capital all participating in this funding round at a $40 billion valuation, the highest ever for a privately held crypto company. Once again, these major players see incredible value in Ripple, even though most of that value comes from holding XRP. But when you see institutional moves like this, it really makes you wonder what's actually going on with that escrow. All those theories we've had about it belonging to the IMF, the World Bank, and other major institutions, I'm starting to think that might actually be reality. Here's something that's creating massive momentum for our space. First, it was Bitcoin getting ETF attention. Then it was Bitcoin and Ethereum together. And now we're seeing Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP all getting serious ETF consideration. Check this out.
Trump proposed a national Bitcoin stockpile, sort of like a reserve fund for Bitcoin. What is your take on this, and how would it impact the crypto market? This is Lucille from Kentucky.
So I actually think it's a bit of a red herring because the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. The US doesn't need to hold other assets in reserve. Yes, it's got gold, but that was a legacy from leaving the gold standard. Other countries have to have reserves to support their own currencies, so they don't need it. Now, would they do it? I think it sounds flashy. For what reason, I don't really know. But let's assume that they do. Let's say I'm wrong and they do build something. It's kind of a weird world because, yes, obviously it's good for the crypto market because there's yet another buyer. But it's also weird because Bitcoin was set up to try and replace the government's control over money. And now you're inserting the government as one of the largest buyers of private money. I don't really like that, actually. But, but it's probably net positive for the crypto price. Now, maybe it pushes private use of money away from Bitcoin if that were the case. Because if the government can manipulate it, they could dump it onto the market, they can buy more, and before you know it, they're using it like they are interest rates and controlling regular money, and we don't want that.
Now, I noticed something interesting in recent commentary. There seems to be some downplaying of XRP's momentum. But here's what I think is really happening. They're trying to manage the narrative because XRP ETFs are continuing to outperform all the other ETFs right now. They want you to believe that all this money flowing out of Bitcoin is going to magically return later. But honestly, I really don't think that's going to happen. They can push that story on mainstream media all day long, but we know what the actual numbers look like. Case closed. All right, here's something that's going to blow your mind. The SEC just cleared the way for major tokenization progress. The investigation into Ondo Finance has closed without charges, and momentum is seriously building for tokenized securities in the United States. What we're witnessing right now is the US pushing forward with tokenization, and it's happening through the SEC. We all know tokenization is the next massive wave in crypto, and it's already happening at a foundational level. But here's the kicker. Once all the regulations are locked in place and everyone gets the official green light, tokenization is going to explode so fast it'll make your head spin. People are still thinking that tokenization is going to take years before we see actual value flow in, before we see real price appreciation on networks that support tokenization, like the XRP ledger. But everybody is already anxious to get involved. The demand is rising every single day. Now, picture this scenario. Trillions upon trillions of dollars flooding onto the XRP ledger in a very short period of time. What do you think that's going to do to XRP's price when they're utilizing XRP to move those tokenized assets? I'm telling you right now, when this starts happening, a lot of people are not going to believe their eyes when they look at their portfolio. This transformation is going to happen so quickly, it'll catch everyone off guard. Here's the bigger picture that everyone needs to understand. Everything has been completely siloed in the United States. Innovation has been held back because during the entire previous administration, it was nothing but roadblocks and crackdowns on crypto innovation. But now, everything's getting the green light. All that pent-up demand that built up over the past few years. Everybody wanted to get these projects moving, but it seemed like there were just delay after delay after delay. Well, those delays are ending, and it's time for real value to start pouring into this space. The floodgates are about to open, and when they do, we're going to see moves that will redefine what we thought was possible in cryptocurrency. This is just the beginning, crypto family. Make sure to smash that like button if this analysis opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because things are moving fast, and you don't want to miss any of these major developments. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you ready for the tokenization tsunami that's coming? I want to hear your predictions.